Hey, what's good, people? Welcome to the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. I'm your podcast host, Desi Abeda. I'm a proud father, a proud husband, a Latino dietitian entrepreneur, and a high performance mentor. Tune in as we discover the habits and routines of gritty athlete and talented entrepreneurs while we provide the tools and insights to conquer your goals and experience those awe-inspiring moments where you say, I can't believe I made it. Hope you enjoy. Yo, what is good, Can't Believers and high performers? Welcome to another episode of the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. In today's Friday episode, obviously you might be listening to this on Friday, and if you are, you're an OG, and I thank you. And if you're not, you're someone who is getting to something a little bit later. And to be honest, that's the type of person that I am. So, whichever type of listener that you are, welcome to another episode. For today's episode, we are actually going to be, morphing the Mentorship Monday episodes into our Fridays rituals for resilience. Now, I wanted to play around with a couple terms that I thought might hit. I might get my tongue tied with these two R's, rituals for resilience. So if you hear me just go ahead and rattle out and I mumble, just love me for it because I'm imperfect and I know that you are too. We were playing around with a couple names. And one of the other ones was like, let's fucking get it Friday. And my first thought was, okay, well, my mom listens to this podcast. She's going to get extremely mad at me for cussing. And so, mom, if you are listening, I said fuggin', okay, with two G's. I did not say the actual word. All right. So I wanted to tackle something today for our first episode, if you will, of the Fridays Rituals for Resilience, where we're spending 10 to 12 minutes on three things that you can optimize your performance, whether that is physically, mentally, cognitively, emotionally, spiritually, whatever that is. And I'm always looking for ideas too. So if you come across something you're like, oh my God, Des, this would be a great Rituals for Resilience episode, please make sure that you tag us at I Made It Pod, hit us in the stories. Obviously, you can hit me at Desi Abeda on IG and anywhere that you can find me. And if you're someone who has my personal phone number, feel free to hit me up. But I think one of the things that I really wanted to tackle today was unveiling the secret strategies of high level athletes and talented entrepreneurs, of people that not only I'm working with and strategies that I use, but ones that I'm seeing across the board. And I think what's really special about this is we can gain a lot of insight from high level people and what they do. You know, there's a saying, and I don't know where it comes from, but it always sticks with me, success leaves clues. And if we look at the people that we most admire, whether that is careers, in how they interact with their family, how they interact with success, there's a lot that we can learn from them. And so, with a lot of these rituals for resilience episodes, we are going to be tackling just that. And so, three things that I wanted us to tackle today is actually three strategies that I'm seeing across the board. And I think the first thing is high level athletes and talented entrepreneurs are doing some sort of sleep hygiene. And so I wanted to talk about sleep tracking, and one that I personally use in my coaching business, one that I personally use myself, and one that I heavily believe in. So that's the first thing. We're going to discuss sleep tracking. The second thing that we're going to dive into is actually your gratitude practice. There's a lot of science that says if you can place yourself in the present moment of being thankful for what you already have, right? I'm kind of talking to you as a parent. I know that's something that my parents used to say to me all the time, be thankful for what you have. There's an actual science to it, which I think is really cool. And I think the last one, and this is by no means in any type of order, because all three of them are things that I have seen do miraculous work inside of a lot of the people that I work with, which is also a breath work practice. And so I'm going to be taking you through three tools that I use with my clients and things that I'm seeing as I continue to work with a lot of these high level athletes and high level and talented entrepreneurs. And so that being said, let's go ahead and discuss one tool that I absolutely love. And like I said, one that I actually use myself because of how easy it is to use. And that first one inside of our sleep matters, right? Inside of sleep cycle, or rather inside of sleep and emotional hygiene, is utilizing the app Sleep Cycle. And so if it's something that you've never utilized before, I think it's an absolute tool that you should use. But what I really enjoy about it is obviously you can get it on your iOS or Android phones. And the thing that I really love about it is that it's really easy to use. And I think for the year, it's like $32 a month or $32 a year, right? And so it's not something that's incredibly expensive, but what it does do, and I want to walk you through two features in each of these tools that I really love. But if we look at sleep stages inside of monitoring and what this app can do, what I really love is that each one of these stages is actually associated with different brainwave patterns. and the physiological responses that come from them from those brainwave patterns. And what I think is really cool about this app is it tracks these changes and it provides user insights on things that you can improve on. Now, someone who understands the science and the performance aspects, what I have a lot of my clients doing is literally just taking screenshots of their data and then throwing in some different sleep tactics that can help them in the long run. And so, like I said, it's incredibly user friendly and one that I use with a lot of my clients now. But inside of the app itself, there's two things that I absolutely love. And I think the first thing is actually their smart alarm feature. And so a lot of us have probably gone through this. For any of us who have been waking up with alarms, sometimes when we are, you know, when we do have that ability to be woken up by an alarm, it is something that's pretty frightening at times, right? You find yourself stepping out of your sleep stage incredibly groggy. And what I really love about the smart alarm is that actually it's a feature that gently wakes you up using some of your lightest sleep phases because it is tracking your movement, it's tracking your any sort of sounds, it's tracking the time that you went to bed, and it's also tracking the time that you wake up, along with other lifestyle factors that it might ask you right before. Things like, hey, did you get sunlight today? Were you active? Did you have caffeine today? Were you stressed today? So there's a lot of lifestyle factors that play into this, which taps into our second tactic that I think, or feature rather, that I think is really cool, which is obviously the sleep analysis. But going back to our smart alarm, it is engaging in all of those tools and analytics. And when you step into a stage where you are a bit more in a light sleep, it'll gently nudge you in a way where you can wake up more peacefully. And that in itself, I think, is an absolute winner because it's going to help you optimize your sleep so that as you wake up, you're not feeling groggy and you're able to get up and then tap into that next thing. Hopefully, it's your morning routine that I think is incredibly influential. Now, the second tool that I really love is actually the analytics. And I think what I have people start with is regularity. You probably hear me talk about this all the time because if you can create some consistency around the time that you go to bed and the time that you wake up, that's the foundation. And so many really great things can be built on because the science is there when it comes to the benefits of sleep hygiene for your cognitive, mental, and physical performance. And we can't not talk about the emotional aspects because all of us at some point have woken up feeling extremely groggy, on the wrong side of the bed, if you will, and have probably been assholes to a lot of the people that we love in our lives. I know I'm guilty of that. So this is our first tool, sleep tracking. I think Sleep Cycle is an absolute winner when it comes to the things that it can do for you in your, physical, mental, and emotional performance. The second thing that I really want to make sure that we talk about from a tool aspect is actually in light of our gratitude work is actually the 5-minute journal. You've heard me talk about this time and time again, and for me, I can't not stop talking about it because of what I'm seeing it do, not only with clients, but also with other high level individuals that I'm having conversations about. Because when we look at developing a gratitude practice, studies and studies have shown that practicing gratitude is able to improve your physiological and your psychological well being, which I think that in itself is a really big game changer because if we can be stillness, if we can be still in moments of stress, in moments of doubt, there's a lot that can happen there. And I think what this tool really offers people is a really easy way to not only engage in goal setting, but also to engage in a way where you're self reflecting. Because if you're able to self reflect, this has been found to improve your self esteem. And if we look at your self esteem as a whole, and we look at the correlation from your self esteem to your ability to emotionally regulate, there's a lot that can happen in between there. And I think with this tool, it's something that is incredibly influential and helpful to help you not only to be still in that moment, but to also think about the things that are actually going right. Because in order to get out of that all or nothing thinking, you are going to have to start thinking about the gray area. It's not black or white. There's actually some gray area. And if you can think about the areas in which you are actually progressing, there's a lot of really beautiful things that can happen in your life. And so with this second tool, I want to make sure, and off the top of my head, I probably, and I'll hit you guys with the show notes with the cost of the actual journal itself. I want to say it's $35, but it might be a little bit more. But it's a tool that I've used time and time again. If you look at my office, I would probably say that I have close to 6 or 7 5-minute journals because I had started doing these since 2018, and it's something that I continue to go back to. And actually, you know what? I kind of want to bring in a personal story real quick. Uh, this whole process of getting back into season 8 and taking a break and really trying to make sure that I was systemic about the way that I operated, because I could no longer get to a point where I was dropping an episode day of. It was just too much stress, and I didn't feel like I was showing up in an authentic way for myself, and much less for you all. But what I really enjoyed the other day is I picked up a journal that I thought was a new one, and I took it on a trip with me. And while I was on a trip, I opened the journal and saw that there was a bunch of writing in there. And so my first thought was like, shit, I got the wrong one. Maybe there's an empty page in here that I can still do my practice. But what was really cool is I looked at some of my journal entries from 2019. And what really got me excited, and really in a lot of ways brought me to tears, was that there were some really beautiful things that I wanted in 2019 that don't even measure up to what's actually happening today. And I think for me, that was a really cool moment to recognize the process and recognize what it looks like to continue to etch away at a life that you are absolutely loving. And that's not to say that it's perfect, but I think there's a lot to be said that if you can start practicing gratitude, there are tremendous benefits for not only your mental and emotional and physical performance, but also what it does to your relationship with yourself. And I think to that end, the 5-minute journal is an absolute win and something that you can utilize for yourself. And the last one that I want to talk about is actually the breath work app. It is incredibly reminiscent of some of the different meditation apps. And I think Headspace is probably a really close uh, partner, if you will, because what I really enjoyed about Headspace, because when I started my meditation practice, I was brand new to it. And so if you're asking me, hey, Des, I need you to sit still for 5 minutes and just not think, that's going to be absolute torture to me. So what I really loved about Headspace and what really made me fall in love with breath work was the guided tools that they offered for you. Some other add-ins that I think are really cool is not only are they guiding you with tools and different breathing techniques to help you with your overall performance, but there's a community factor in there. There's different live coachings. There's just so much about the app that I really love. But I would say probably the two tools inside of the app itself is actually a lot of the science and teaching that it talks about inside of stress reduction, because the app itself provides you with exercises specifically designed to alleviate stress and promote relaxation. So if you're coming into it, let's just say, and this is where I had first started using it, to be honest. I got COVID back in September. And so I was like, you know what? I remember there was a long COVID, teaching module. So I'm going to go in and just see what it has. And so, like, that was one of the first times that I was like, all right, well, let me do a whole course, because before then I was kind of doing it a la carte, which might be your pace, right? So if you're stressed, if you want to wake up, let's say you're getting yourself primed to go do a strength session, like whatever that is for you, there's a lot to be had. And so there are classes, there are a la carte options. And I think what is really cool about it is that it is teaching you different breathing techniques that can not only increase your oxygen, but also optimize your CO2 levels, which have been shown to improve those cognitive functions, your ability to be more attentive, your decision making abilities. So there's just a lot to be said about some of the different tools that we're finding and that I'm finding with other high level athletes and high level talented entrepreneurs that I'm really enjoying utilizing with a lot of the clients that I'm seeing. And so as you're trying to formulate some of the things that you can do for yourself, I think first things first is we want to look at the lowest hanging fruit. So if there's one tool or tactic that we talked about here that you can be like, you know what, I'm going to go buy the gratitude journal, or I'm going to download Sleep Cycle, or I'm going to download the Breathwork app. I think that's a beautiful place to start, because you don't need to be doing all three of these. But over time, as you're seeing yourself in this moment of pivot where you're recognizing that you need to be doing something different for yourself, and regardless of what that is, there's no judgment. Like, we go through pivots all the time in life. Your ability to adapt is going to be one of your biggest strengths. So as you're looking at it, I just want you to think about how you can etch out time to spend 5 to 7 minutes with each one of these things. Because even just with your Sleep Cycle app, if you play around with it for 5 to 7 minutes, you're going to see that it's incredibly easy. All you have to do is turn on the app before you go to bed and turn it off when you wake up. Like, that's literally all you have to do. And then you start engaging in the science and the education around it. And I think if you're looking at yourself as a self-starter, these are 3 incredible tools that I think are absolute game changers. All right. I hope this was helpful. Our Friday's Rituals for Resilience episodes are going to be obviously each and every Friday, where we are tackling something in the realm of 10 to 12 minutes so that's digestible and you can go off and do your thing. So I hope this is helpful. I will catch you on the next one, friends. Let's fucking get it.